Hello everyone, it's time for another video and this one is a little bit of a surprise. The other day I opened up my mail and this had arrived from Great Escape Games. Now I wasn't expecting this. This is the new starter set, if you like, for the Chicago Way flat caps and truncheons. So what I thought we'd do is we would open it up and take a look at it. As a lot of you know, I'm a big fan of Great Escape Games and especially Dead Man's Hand. I do know about the Chicago Way, but I haven't played it and I don't really know anything about it. So let's take a look at this set. So as you can see, we have this nice sort of finish box actually, which is quite cool. And you've got a nice overview of what's included: an immersive miniature war game of law and disorder in post-war Britain. Welcome to a world where order clashes with chaos. So obviously this is, you know, aimed at fans of, you know, Peaky Blinders or anything in that kind of period, actually. Apparently this contains miniatures, the rules, the markers, the dice, the cards, and the Birmingham News, the rules for the Peaky Blinders and the Coppers as well. Experience the era of accurate miniatures, narrative-driven scenarios, and immersive gameplay. Outwit your opponent with clever tactics, resource management, and careful planning. So let's open this up and take a look. So straight out the box, we have a number of plastic bases that will be familiar to anyone who gets Great Escape Games miniatures. We have two different sets of dice, black and red, with a D10 and a D20. I'm assuming this runs on a similar system to Dead Man's Hand. One pack of miniatures, a second pack of miniatures, a set of cards, more cards. It's very cool bookmark. Great Escape Games chuck a lot of these in their sets. I do like these. A character, Molly Suffolk. Again, similar to what you'll see with Dead Man's Hand. A Chicago Way rulebook. Oh, and underneath that, aha, we have tokens for the game. And we have the Birmingham News, which is the... oh god, we have even more stuff. What's this? Oh, excellent. We have a poster. This makes me want to go and watch The Untouchables. And on the back of this, we have a map of Chicago with the north side, west side, central, southwest side, south side. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Right, let me just get this into some kind of order, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, so you get quite a bit in here, to be fair. I think the best way to do this is let's look at the miniatures before we look at anything else. Then we'll have a look at the rulebook, the sort of the expansion set here for the Peaky Blinders, and then we can have a quick just flip through the cards. But I imagine these are a little bit like the ones in Dead Man's Hand, and they drive the game. But let's have a look. Right, let's have a look at this one here. What have we got in here? These are the Coppers. So you can see we get 8. Oh, hang on, what's this here? We get 8 miniatures. This is Molly Suffolk. This was, I believe, is one of the characters for one of the scenarios. So that's not one of the gangs. But as you can see, they are full metal miniatures. They've got some decent weight to them. Little bit of flash, but that's to be expected. So a little bit of cleanup to do. That's not a bayonet, that is a bit of flash. Each one is an individual pose. You've got these Coppers with rifles, truncheon. Lots of nice detail on these. There's an inspector model. We'll have a look at him in a second. There's another Copper with a pistol. Always like a pointing miniature. Always good. One with a pistol there. One with a rifle. I will get these all cleaned up. And then here's an inspector who I imagine is the boss. So it looks like he's having a cigarette or smoking a pipe. Nice. Okay, so let's take a look at the Peaky Blinders. So like the other gang with the Coppers, you're going to have 7 of these, and the gang leader, which is referred to in the booklet as the prodigal son, he comes with an SMG. Now this is a really nice model, and certainly looks like Cillian Murphy. Very cool gun. We'll have a look at the rules for these weapons when we have a look at the Peaky Blinders booklet that comes with the set. But yeah, that'll paint up really nice. We have this chap here, who I believe is meant to be the local hero. This guy hasn't got the flat cap like everybody else. He's got a bit of a bowler hat, but lots of detail. Now this one is probably going to please quite a few people. This is a Peaky Blinder with a Lewis gun. It's quite a cool scene in the series. Really nice detail on that gun. 2 more Peaky Blinders. Now I imagine, just by the quick glimpse I've had at the Peaky Blinders rules, that these could represent either Peaky Blinders or hoodlums or sort of lower rankers just as easily. If you're just trying to, you know, if you haven't got all the points available or all the money available for the, you know, a really high cost gang, then these can fill in at lower levels. Finally, we have one here with a rifle. As I say before, there's a little bit of flash to sort out, but if you're used to cleaning metal models, then that isn't going to present too much of a problem. Just give yourself some time to sort it out before you go and undercoat these. So that was a look at the models. Let's have a look at this, the Birmingham News. So this is the sort of the insert and the scenarios and the gang rules for using the Coppers and the Peaky Blinders. So it is done out like a newspaper, which is fun and similar again to the way the Dead Man's Hand scenarios are written. So looking at the Coppers here, we can see we've got 5 different types. We have the inspector, who we saw previously, a sergeant, police officers, junior officers, and a driver. The cost is listed here. Now in Dead Man's Hand, it's listed as reputation, but here you actually have a monetary value. Hits is how many wounds essentially they can take. Nerve is what they need to pass their nerve test and perform certain actions. The shoot is the modifier to their shooting roll, so the sergeant adds 2, rolls a d20 and adds 2, plus anything that the weapon gives you for range. And the hand-to-hand works the same. Now what's new is the drive column, because you don't have that in Dead Man's Hand. So this is their ability to drive, and I imagine to perform certain maneuvers. And over here it gives you their weapon options and possible weapon upgrades as well. So the Coppers have Truncheons, which adds 1 to the number of under fire markers caused when winning hand-to-hand combat. And the way hand-to-hand combat works in this, both characters get a d10 and they add their respective hand-to-hand modifier. So if it was a sergeant, he would add 1. So let's say that this black dice is the sergeant, and he's got a 9. Let's just say he's fighting someone who's got no hand-to-hand ability modifier at all and no situational modifiers. He got an 8 as well. So the difference overall is 9 for the sergeant and 8 for the other person. So the sergeant has won by 1 point. Normally, that would just inflict 1 wound because the difference is 1. However, with the Coppers, their truncheon would add another 1. So the sergeant would have done 2 wounds. Next ability, we've got a mole inside. Use once per game and play at the beginning of the turn before any characters are activated. The Copper player selects one of their opponent's cards from their hand at random and places it on their discard pile. That's quite nasty. The card is replaced at the end of the turn. This can be in addition to any card which is drawn as normal. So you're denying them the use of one of their abilities. Reinforcements on the way. Use once per game in any scene featuring an inspector. So that's essentially the boss. Play when a Copper's character is taken out of action. Immediately put a junior officer within 10 centimeters of the original position. If the original character had yet to activate, the junior officer is given its initiative card. That's pretty cool. So a young and up-and-coming officer just jumps into the fray as reinforcements. So these are, sometimes you have to remember to play these. So it's quite useful that they've actually got this all on one sheet, because I have a tendency to forget my abilities in Dead Man's Hand. Now, the Peaky Blinders. Now, these guys have 6 different sort of troop types, if you like. They have the Prodigal Son, who's the gang leader, the local hero, Peaky Blinders, hoodlums, stooges, and they have a driver as well. Now, the Prodigal Son, you can see here, has a pistol and a shiv for free, or you can take an SMG. Now, the rules of the SMG is it has the automatic fire 2 rule. So with each shoot action, it fires 1 shot at long range and 2 shots at close and point blank range. The shooter may declare up to 1 shoot action at long range and 2 shoot actions at close range and 3 shoot actions at point blank range. Each action of shooting is dealt with separately, and all shots fired as the second action suffer -1 to hit and the third action at -2. So shooter at point blank range can shoot 3 shoot actions and fire 6 shots. That could be very, very nasty. The local hero gets a pistol and a shiv for free, and the Peaky Blinders, you can have pump action shotguns or shivs, pistols and shivs. But what's really nice is you can have the Lewis gun, but obviously you can only take 1 of these. And the Lewis gun, basically any hit that doesn't automatically take a character out of action, so if you're getting like a 19 plus on the wound roll after modification, will cause an under fire marker and a nerve test. So if you're getting hit by that Lewis gun, you're testing to see if your character is going to stay in the fight. If someone is carrying it, they can take a maximum of 2 move actions in a turn and can't use any reactions. And if they jam it, they have to use 2 reload actions to get to unjam it. A range of 10, close is 11 to 20, and long is 31 plus +1 to hit at point blank range. It's pretty cool. Now, their special rules, the shivs add 1 to their hand-to-hand characteristics, which isn't included on the profile. So similar to the hand-to-hand we just saw, while the coppers get +1 to wound, these guys are more likely to actually win a combat, though they might not do as much damage. They have the scapegoats rule, which is Peaky Blinders may use stooges who act as decoys, lookouts and scapegoats. 1 stooge may be selected for every 2 other characters in their faction. That's pretty cool. The Peaky Blinders play in notes on the underside of their base which characters are stooges. Even though unarmed, use armed Peaky Blinder models to cause as much mayhem and distraction as possible. The player must reveal if a character is a stooge if there is an opposing character within 10 centimeters. That's quite cool, so you can sort of put a bit of misdirection and things in there. I should have pointed out here that the only person who can have the rifle is the hoodlum, so we know there's definitely a hoodlum in the gang, which is that chap up there. So they look like a really interesting gang to play. You then have 3 scenarios here, which can be played individually or as part of a sort of a mini campaign. So it's 3 linked games. I won't go through all of the details because I don't want to spoil them, but you have everything is set out for you, what the story is, who takes part in this scenario. So in this scenario, you just have the coppers have 2 characters worth no more than 800, and the Peaky Blinders have 3 hoodlums armed with pistols and shivs. So you just follow these directions. It tells you how to set up the board, and it's not necessarily fixed. You know, like it might just say, you know, have a few buildings or create a street, and then everything else is just up to you. Directions of play and how the game ends. And then if you're playing this as part of an ongoing game, it tells you how the story continues, what to do if you won or lost the last game, and how it links into the last game as well. And normally what happens in these scenarios, you build up for a couple of models in the first scenario, a few more in the second scenario, and then a full gang by the third. This is a really nice like booklet, to be honest. I think it's well produced. It's nice to see a complete booklet rather than just a small card. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. The token set is what you'd expect. These are the move counters that show how many times your guy has taken a move action, 1, 2 or 3. You put this down next to them when they've done that. These are the under fire markers, which are essentially wounds. These are the driving markers or the speed icons, and these are the out of ammo, and this is a movement gauge. They're made of decent thick cardstock. It actually took a while for me to poke that one out. So they're nice and thick, and they come in at just over 20 mil in diameter. So yeah, they're pretty hard wearing. I believe these do come as MDF tokens as well, but to be honest with you, these are more than suitable for all your gaming needs. Now, I won't do a complete flip through of the whole Chicago Way rulebook. That would be a bit of a spoiler, but it does run very similar to Dead Man's Hand. You have a quick reference at the front in centimeters, and you have a quick reference in the back in inches for those people who want to play it one way or the other. I assume that you have to agree with your opponent which way you're doing it. You can't have one doing it in centimeters and one doing it in inches, but you've got the options there. The rulebook is full colour and well laid out with lots of examples of nicely painted miniatures and terrain and really nice examples. They have like these characters that are sort of have speech bubbles essentially just talking you through the rules. And the rules in here, as I've already said, will be familiar to anybody who has played Dead Man's Hand, with little updates and little sort of changes just to bring it into sort of the 1920s and 1930s. Now, one of the main things which is very different is the inclusion of vehicles. So it's got a whole section to itself to walk you through how vehicle actions work, how it works on initiative, how vehicles move, if you're taking a 45-degree turn, what the modifier is to your driving ability, and if you do fail a driving test, what the consequences are. Maybe it's just a little bump, maybe you take some under fire markers, or maybe you just have a full-on crash and you flip the vehicle. There are rules for shooting from the vehicles, shooting at the vehicles, so you can do drive-bys and all that sort of fun stuff. And also just, you know, rules on how to embark and disembark and include them. So it might not seem like a lot, but it's a big change to what you would see and expect maybe from Dead Man's Hand. So it's nice to see it's actually quite fleshed out. As you would expect, there are gangs included in the main rulebook. Now, as the rulebook was based around the sort of 1920s Prohibition stuff in the States, you have the Prohibition agents here. So we've got like this Elliot Ness looking chap here, and the Untouchables. We have the police. Now, I don't know whether this is you playing the police as good or corrupt, but yeah, I guess that's up to you, and you can do that either way. As you would expect, we have gangsters. You have the chap in the white suit from the Untouchables. And in there, you've got things like bosses, hitmen, hoods, punks, drivers. And then finally, we have the Moonshiners as well, really leaning into that whole Prohibition theme. There are other gangs available on the Great Escape Games website, which is linked down below, along with a link to where you can purchase this set. There are rules in here for the different vehicles, which include things from cars to closed trucks and open trucks. So if those of you who have already got some vehicles for that kind of era of playing, you can easily include them in here. And then we have a whole section on scenarios. I mean, basically everything you could want in here. The hit, the heist, the massacre, the gauntlet, the raid. Yeah. And then rules for a campaign. Now, in Dead Man's Hand, in the original Dead Man's Hand rulebook, the campaign rules were not in it. They're in an expansion. In the Redux rulebook that came out recently, they were. And it's nice to see that you have that option in here if you want to do that and you want to play some linked games. So if you want to take the Peaky Blinders and actually develop them over a period of time, or the Coppers, then why not play a little campaign? You could play 5 or 6 games and really get a, you know, a nice sort of overarching story put together. The rulebook is really easy to find your way around, and it also has copies of the templates and everything at the back for you to photocopy for your own use. But most of those are all downloadable as well. Now, finally, the cards that come in the set are used to drive the game engine, and they are split into suits, as you would expect, like a normal set of cards. The Jack, Queen, King, and Ace of each suit relate directly to the, shall we call them, the base gangs that come in Chicago Way rulebook. You will need to replace those with these cards here. We've got the flat cap for the Peaky Blinders, and we have a police helmet for the policeman, and those are gang specific abilities. So you might have this one here, which is called a red right hand. Play when a character firing a pistol declares their actions for this turn. Each shooting action may be re-rolled once. So I won't go through all these abilities, but essentially, you know, they probably give you some extra stuff to do with ability, with shooting, or they allow you to swap characters around. And similar to Dead Man's Hand, all of these cards here, which you use for initiative or form your hand, have abilities on them. So for example, I could play this Two of Hearts and play it for the out of ammo. Play on an opposing model after it declares it will fire. Following the first shot, the weapon jams. The model receives an out of ammo marker and no further shots are taken. So I could, if someone was about to shoot me, I'd say, no, you're not. I'd play that 2. If they had another 2, so let's just say they had the 2 of diamonds, they could play that and say, no, you're not, and trump that, and the effect is lost. However, if I had another 2, I could play it, and you have a bit of back and forth. So how you use these cards really does have a big effect on the game. Anyway, This is £50, which I think for a 2-player starter set is really reasonable. We have seen sort of a price creep on a lot of 2-player starter sets, but if you're splitting this with a mate, 25 quid each, you get your gang, you get your cards, you've got your supplements so you can use the Peaky Blinders, plus the scenarios, and you got the rulebook, and you got the tokens. You've got everything you need. And to be honest, 25 quid isn't even a night out these days. So, you know, there you go. I think that that's a really good deal. Let me know what you guys think. If you're coming into this and you haven't played Dead Man's Hand, I'd be really interested to know what you think. If you are coming into this having played Dead Man's Hand, what's made you sort of come along and sort of pick this up as well? I'll be back soon with more videos. I've got more battle reports on the way and more project logs. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves. I'm going to go and start watching Boardwalk Empire again, and I will see you all soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.